Oh, geez.
Rob, what are your thoughts on the UConn Huskies tonight?
It's very frustrating to watch them when they go into those the way that they played tonight and the games that they had tonight. It feels like a lot of times they need to be able to get stuff out of what they scheme. They need to get offense out of what they scheme. And if they can't get it out of what they scheme, they kind of forget how to be basketball players. And it's frustrating because I know how good Tyrese Spartan can be if he decides he just wants to go. And we see how athletic Andre Jackson is. And RJ Cole's been great. It's hard to criticize him for having to carry an entire team at 5'11". But if they can't get what they want, it feels like a lot of these guys forget how good they are at basketball. And I don't necessarily know how you fix that, right? Like I don't know how you coach someone up to go from being a little bit too passive to being a little bit more aggressive when the whole reason they're out there is because of they're supposed to be this guy that's going to win on toughness and win on physicality. And I don't know how you develop more of a sense of being just like a natural basketball player when everything that you do offensively is about like remaining within the structure of what you want to run and running your set and then running this counter, because for that counter to work, you got to be able to show them this set 2 or 3 times. So what do you do? I don't know. If you guys were Dan Hurley, like what would be the change that you would make? Because I get very frustrated watching them run offense sometimes.
I think they're built a certain way, and Danny coaches a certain way, and they execute plays. They got a great big guy inside that they want to play through clearly and go in. And, I think sometimes that's a problem. The one thing I would say about UConn is, and Sean, you can speak to this as well, for a Power 5 or 6 team, for the talent that they have, they shoot a really poor percentage from 2. And when you think about that is, what does that mean? That means they're taking a lot of shots that aren't great threes or dunks that are hard to make. And when you struggle to score at times, a lot of it has to do with a team either making you take those shots or those the ones that you're conditioned to take. Jumpers inside the line, runners, floaters, back to the basket, multiple dribble post-ups, hard baskets. And I think one thing about UConn is they're taking some shots that are hard at times. And I think maybe that's why they go through some lulls. And if you look at their team and you kind of break them down a little bit, it's an odd stat for a team that's that talented from inside the 3. Why would a team shoot a poor percentage from 2 when you're that talented? They're taking some tough 2s, it looks like to me. They're an unbelievable offensive rebounding team, though. They're going to win a lot of games doing it. The thing that concerns me about UConn is, and they'll rise to the occasion because Danny will have them ready. But the meat of the schedule here this month is going to get hard. I mean, they have the bulk. They went on a 5-game win streak with St. John's, Butler back-to-back, Georgetown, and DePaul. And they're getting ready to go Villanova, Marquette, Xavier right in a row. And they still have Seton Hall, Xavier, Villanova to go after that.
Look at this 7-game run.
And I think they have a Providence game in there they got to make up, right, Rob?
It's not that one. It's probably not going to happen because of the way the Big East schedules work. Okay. You cannot have 3 games in a week in back-to-back weeks. And the only way to make it work is you would get 3 games in a week for 3 straight weeks for one. I forget what it was, but when Providence got hit with their shutdown, it was after all of the other games were rescheduled. So I don't think that they're going to be able to fit it in. But look at the next 7 games for UConn: at Villanova, Marquette at home, at Xavier, at St. John's, which is never an easy place to play, Seton Hall at home, Xavier at home, Villanova at home. That is brutal. We're going to know how good they are. We're going to know how good they are in these next 3 weeks.
Sometimes, Rob, when you're that elite as an offensive rebounding team, top 5 in the country, like your spacing helps you become a good offensive rebounding team. That same spacing sometimes doesn't make you as sharp when the first shot goes up. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but they are killing you on the glass. They're sending 3 and 4 guys to the glass. And guess what? It's important to their program that they do it. You could tell it's something that's emphasized. And those guys aren't out at 30 feet standing there with their hands up when one of their teammates drives. I think they drive to shoot a lot.
That's
I
a
drive
big,
to shoot.
I would say that's a great point. They're not
Then
driving to pass yet.
when you drive to shoot, you take more tough twos. And guess what? You drive to shoot, everybody's running in to tip your miss in and to get second shots. So, I think over time, as we keep moving forward, one of the things that they can do is to look at that a little bit more of, there are certain guys that look, being able to make that same strong drive and don't finish it with the challenge to kick it. And, as they do that a little bit more, they're probably going to get more spacing. But guess what? They're probably also not going to be as good of an offensive rebounding team. But, last year, UConn made the tournament, Rob. This year, they're better than they were a year ago. And look, you're probably watching a team that is going to be in the tournament, which is hard to do, but maybe they're not quite wired to go very far. That's kind of who they are.
The biggest thing, Sean, is that I think the expectation is that UConn should be back immediately. UConn should be back. Danny's been there for 4 years. He should have them doing what Jim Calhoun did. When you ignore the fact that, like, what Jim Calhoun did in store. Have you guys ever been to Stores, Connecticut?
Not going.
There's no reason why there should be a basketball powerhouse in Stores, Connecticut. So I think we sometimes overlook the fact that what Jim Calhoun did in that school, in that state, should probably have not happened. So I think it's a little bit of an unfair comparison to put.
Hey, give Danny and his staff a lot of credit on where they're at with their talent.
Trust me. I do. I'm mostly just venting because I just watched a very frustrating game.
And Rob, the other part for UConn to understand, UConn fans, when you transition from one conference to the next, like you just don't snap your fingers and say, okay, I'm good. It's like switching a job.
Yeah,
you may do the same thing for a living, but are you going to, in the next 6 to 9 months after you change, companies, be at your highest level of efficiency? It takes a little bit of familiarity and time. Sure. And again, I think as you look at UConn, the Big East is obviously great for their program. They're great for the Big East, but they're going to be fine. I'm actually going to see their game at Xavier. I haven't been back at Xavier since I left. I can't believe it. But
you think it'll be like Chris Beard?
You
think it'll be like Chris Beard when you show up? Are they going to attack your bus?
No, I represent no challenge. I'm on their team.
Arch is going to show up with the Xavier t-shirt on, flipping you off on the bus, saying, "Stop telling everybody that I picked Alabama to win the title." That's what it's going to be.
I never picked them to win the title. I
tell you what, don't let Alabama lose to Kentucky, because he won't show up for the next podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
If they beat Kentucky, he'll be there early,
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think they show up big. I think they show up big at home, but I think Kentucky's going to be hard for Alabama to play fast against.
Kentucky's the real thing.
What's that?
Yeah, I said, Dagan, do we have anything else? Any questions coming in?
We do have more questions. Rob, this one is specifically for you because
Uh-oh.
we all know. I've already kind of asked you a question about UConn, but I'm going to ask you another one specifically for you. Is it time to finally give Providence their flowers? Is Ed Cooley the coach of the year?
I'm curious your guys' take on this. I think I would vote for Ed Cooley for National Coach of the Year at this point.
Very well deserved.
Taking Providence from, they were 7th in the Big East preseason poll. They are in first place in the Big East right now. Now they still got to get, I think they still get Villanova twice. So they're gonna have to earn it at this point. But the fact that you take a team that I don't know if they have an NBA player and they turn it into a group that is this good. And look, I like to troll Providence fans on Twitter, but this team is it's not a fluke that you win this many close games in a row. I know, like, we love to throw the lucky stat out there. We love to say, like, they're number one right now in Ken Palm's luck rating after Goodman called them the luckiest team in America. So it's become like the thing that just triggers all of the Providence fans. But there's no luck involved when you win this many close games in a row. So to me, I think Ed Cooley would be the National Coach of the Year if I had to pick.
Yeah, I mean, last year they had a very tough year. He had some key replacements, some transfers come in. The thing I like about Providence, they have great role distribution right now. There's like no messing around with their roster and their minutes and whatnot. You know who's playing, and I think that's why they've been very good in tight games. They're between Durham, Al, between Jared Bynum, between Nate Watson. Reeves has been out, but he's experienced. And, they bring in Manana. Now, those guys have been they're in the game all the time. And then they have their role guys come in and do a nice job spotting them. They got great role distribution on their team, and they're getting great production there. They'll be 20-2 when they play Villanova, and they'll be 11-1 in the Big East by the time they play Villanova. It'll be the biggest game in college basketball. The Friars.
Those kids are so tough. They're so tough.
I think the greatest compliment you could pay a team is really by saying, like, your whole is greater than your individual parts. And when you think about Providence, that's really what you say, that, and this isn't a knock because, look, they have some really good players. You don't win that many games without having all Big East players on their team. And they're going to have a couple guys on the all Big East team. Whether they have NBA players or not, that's a story for a different day. But when you add up all that they have, including the coach and his staff, they're getting the most out of their team, perhaps more than anybody else. And we've talked a lot about Texas Tech and Mark Adams and, just watching their identity. Providence also has an identity, and they're well coached. They're together. They're tough. They're hard playing. They care. And the other thing is you're playing in front of an incredibly hungry fan base. When you play them at home, when you play them, I've been there. I mean, you play at the Dunk right now.
I thought Fanta was going to fall out of his seat again in that game.
I thought Fanta on
Everyone
tonight's
makes fun
game.
of Fanta for that.
Fanta on tonight's game was very calm. I think he deferred to Coach Raftery a little bit. He was honored to be on that telecast with him, but he was as mild and even keeled as I've seen him.
I was walking through the airport in Dallas, Texas. The Providence game was coming down the stretch against Marquette, and these guys at the Fridays, they get the Fridays in the airport. They were losing their mind on Fanta. The commentary, they couldn't believe how. I mean, these people were in Texas. Fanta was rocking the Dallas airport this weekend with his commentary with Ben Parisi in that game.
I'll tell you this much. That's not the first time that John Fanta has rocked a TGI Fridays in an airport. I promise you that.